It is my honor to stand before you this afternoon and offer my wholehearted endorsement of Paul Renner as the next governor of the great state of Florida. I've talked with this man extensively. I believe in him. He has experience as a senior naval officer, served in Operation Desert Storm, later in Afghanistan, where you earned the United States Meritorious Service Medal. He has a law degree from the University of Florida Levin College of Law, entered private practice, and later served as assistant state attorney. This is a broad career. In 2015, he was elected to the Florida House of Representatives for District 19, and in 2022, he was elected as Speaker of the House, serving with distinction until his term concluded in 2024. Beyond this resume, Paul is a committed husband, father, the epitome of the American family, and the leader of a family. I could go on and on, I tend to do that, but this afternoon it's not about me. Tonight it's time for you to hear from our next governor. Ladies and gentlemen, please give a warm Marion County welcome, Paul Renner.
Thank you guys. Thanks for coming out. Marion County. All right. Well, thank you guys for being here. And Dr. Hatfield, thank you for the introduction. And it's a great segue into a memory that I have that I'll never forget. Election night 2018. Seeing election returns come in. And if you remember, the polls were showing that DeSantis wasn't going to win. We didn't know whether we were going to have Ron DeSantis or Governor Andrew Gillum in 2018. Right? And just imagine, and I know many people in this room helped a governor to get there, but imagine we didn't have somebody ready for leadership on day one. And Doctor, to your point, that was willing to challenge kind of the conventional wisdom that was proven wrong. And had he followed, and Andrew Gillum most certainly would have followed, in trying to outdo the lockdown governors in what was the most egregious infringement of American civil rights in our history. And he would have kept us locked down for a lengthy period of time, kids in masks, and we know now that this really doesn't affect children at all, and COVID didn't. And so you've got to have leaders who are willing to stand against the tide when they know it's right, when they know, in this case, that it's putting Florida first. That is what this campaign is about. It's about whether we're going to have a leader who's ready for the job on day one, who's got the record of leadership to go out and beat the left wherever they raise their head. And so my journey into leadership started at age 23 on the deck of the USS McInerney in the Northern Gulf, and navigating through mine-infested waters. The news of today and the Straits of Hormuz, I've been through it, is familiar. But navigating around those mines and then being a small boat officer to take a group of guys, an EOD team out to actually destroy those mines, from me to Annie away from that, pull them back in the boat, and if something happened with our ship about a mile off, about a nautical mile off, if something happened, it happened to us and not to them. And so fast forward 20 years later, I led a group of men and women in Afghanistan to stop foreign fighters from coming into the battle space to kill Americans. Once again, the news of today is familiar because one of those foreign countries was Iran, where we had figured out how to stop the Taliban and their IEDs from destroying and killing and maiming our servicemen because of our armor-protected vehicles. But the Iranians were sending in specially shaped charges which were destroying those vehicles and killing and maiming Americans by the dozens. And that you see now in commercials that because of the Iranians. And so that's 20 years of leadership under pressure. In this job, we don't know where it's going to take us. We don't know what COVID's around the corner, AI. I mean, there's a lot of things we can see today. The threat of, in my opinion, the threat of the Islamization of our state and our country that can threaten the free state of Florida and what we hold dear. You've got to have somebody ready for leadership on day one. And then, of course, in between my time on active duty and in the reserves, I was a prosecutor in Broward County. And for those that don't know Broward County, it ain't Marion County. So it is like Rush Limbaugh with one hand tied behind your back just to make it fair, because you've got the judge, the juries, in addition to the defendant and the defense attorneys that are oftentimes against you. And so you have to be able to stand in there with a habitual or violent habitual offender behind you, a victim beside you, and the only thing keeping that guy from creating another victim is the jury in front of you that you have to convince by a unanimous vote, beyond a reasonable doubt, to put that guy away. And sometimes the evidence, is going to be challenged and whatnot. That's also leadership under pressure, and had leadership roles there as well when I was there in the state attorney's office. And then fast forward to Speaker of the House, and the governor called those 2 years the most successful 2 years of any state and any legislative term in history, that it was unmatched, which is a really nice compliment. And let me just highlight a couple things before we talk about the future, and I'd love to hear some questions from you, is we did some things that people said could not be done. When it came to our insurance market that was collapsing, to curb some of the litigation abuse while holding insurers accountable, that needed to be done by focusing on the consumers, something that gets lost in politics, where people are following this special interest or that special interest, and not you as the special interest. Florida First means that the people are the only special interest we should be following when we do policy. And we did that, auto rates were out of control, 30% increase before we did that, and now they're actually coming down. And I haven't got my check yet, but I understand if you're a State Farm ratepayer, you're going to get a check in the mail, which is great. Nothing's going down in the country, and so it's actually going down here in that area. And then another thing that people said we could not accomplish was protecting our children from the threat of online addiction, online pornography. And for those who don't know, I had all these meetings over the years, and I really didn't understand until I became speaker, but I'd meet with teachers that would come in and say, our children are suffering a mental health epidemic. What are you talking about? I was in school, and yeah, there were mean girls and boys, but we were resilient. I didn't feel that. I don't remember a mental health epidemic when I was in school. But that's what's happening. And it's happening because you see the advent of weaponization, really, of the internet on our children, whether it's online pornography, 8-year-olds seeing stuff that you can't find at a convenience store, or in the case of many young girls that are being affected by these addictive platforms, where a majority have had hopelessness and loneliness persistently over the last year, where they've had a mental health issue the last 30 days, 41%, and 30% of high school women saying they contemplated killing themselves, taking their own life in the last year. That's not the same schools we grew up in. And it's because of the weaponization and the commitment by big tech to use addiction against our kids to monetize them. When you think about addiction, children, and monetization, it sounds like human trafficking, and that's exactly what it is. And so people said, Speaker, you're not going to do that, because everybody would, and they did, lobby up across Tallahassee against it, because there's a lot of money being made and sacrificing our children in the process. We beat them. And what did they do? Rather than make it a little less addictive to get out of the bill, they sued us. So rather than make it just a little bit more child-friendly and be out of the bill, they sued us. And so far, they've lost. But you need leaders who are willing to do the things that people say can't be done, because there are complicated problems out there. It's what I love about Ron DeSantis. It's what I love about Donald Trump, is because they're not afraid to take on challenges that people say, you can't do that thing. If you do that thing, all hell's going to break loose, or there's going to be controversy, and it's going to take you down. They're willing to take the risk, and you have to have a leader who's willing to take the risk. And we did this with respect to Amendments 3 and 4 too, the pot and abortion amendment. I don't know about you, but I don't want to smell it on my kid's playground. I don't want to smell it when my wife and I go out to date night. If you want to get it, you can get it. We have medical marijuana. And then the abortion amendment, radical abortion amendment, that was going to go up to 40 weeks, guaranteed taxpayer-funded abortion in states where it's been passed. We had one governor, unlike most governors in the country, that was willing to stand up, travel the state, raise money, campaign against this, because let me tell you, folks, both of those things were passing. They were going to pass easily. And there was only one other person in this race of all the candidates running for governor that showed up in that fight, and you're looking at him. And we went around the state with the governor, campaigned, raised over $2 million that I don't have now as we're raising money here tonight in a fundraiser to run for governor. But that's what you do when you're a leader. It's not about me. It's about putting our state first, not most of the time, not some of the time, all of the time. And that's what we have to have in the next governor. And so I'll just conclude with that by saying, you can have a leader that doesn't have these three qualities, but to have a great leader, you've got to have somebody with high character, high competence, and high courage. And I've seen this happen with conservatives. You got a lot of campaign conservatives, but they're not true believers. They get in there, and when it gets hot, the courage melts away. They've got high character. They're competent, but when it comes time to have the courage to stand up and the guts to say, when you're going to be called names, they melt away. You can be a leader without one of those three, but not a great leader. And I love the Bible verse, and so it's my chance to preach to you a little bit, is in Isaiah 6, where God says, I got this really difficult task. And Isaiah comes and says, here am I, send me. It's unequivocal. It's not, here am I, send me, unless the weather's bad, or here am I, send me, unless the media attacks me, or I lose friendships, as many people have done by supporting the wrong candidate. It's here am I, send me. Folks, that is the only way we win this country back, by return to faith, family, patriotism, and doing whatever it takes to say, here am I, send me. We've all got a role. And so I appreciate very much your presence here tonight. We need to raise money, so I appreciate whatever you can do on voterenner.com. There's a place you can do it online, or pass me a check on the way out the door to put us in front of people that can help us not only raise money, but also raise votes. And I can tell you at the grassroots level, we're seeing huge results. Now, the only two straw polls that have been released where people are actually paying attention in Jacksonville and Gilchrist County, we've won 2-1 over the other candidate. Because, folks, people are tired of Democrats and Republicans, all politicians, who get into office and immediately self-promote, make money, have fun, and forget about we the people. We need better than that. We must demand better than that. You must demand better than that. And with God's help, you'll get better than that when I'm your governor. God bless you guys. I look forward to taking your questions. Thank you.